Howdy, howdy, everybody, and welcome to the Champion Forge Season 3, Episode number 9. My name is Canfit, and I'm alongside some wonderful people today. Apologies for the delay in starting. We've had some technical problems, and hopefully they have been resolved. But over the course of today, we're going to be designing a League of Legends champion to a particular theme. And to introduce today's theme, it's Cast the Exodus!
Hi y'all, how's everybody doing? I don't do intros, so let's get straight into it. God of War 4 was released on PC this week. I have done my research. Actually, let me check. I have done exactly 26.2 hours of research on that particular project.
Nerd.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And I thought, why don't we design something that is akin to Kratos as a League champion? Because that game is fantastic. And obviously, to draw the art here today, we have Roger. Roger, how you doing, Roger?
I'm doing just fine, Before you told me that God of War this week came out, I was like, I didn't know. But now I know, and I'm really excited to look at all the new art stuff that's cruising around the internet. Speaking of art, I had a photo shoot yesterday, so I'm feeling all right. I'm feeling very fabulous. So, and I'm excited to put that onto not paper, but something digital.
I feel a little bit better about not knowing the word for it if the person, the artist doing it doesn't know the word for it either.
Yeah.
So, I guess it's okay.
It's gonna be fine.
So, we didn't want to come in here and just kind of do Kratos as a champion just because of how quickly, that could be resolved. So, Exodus, Roger, what kind of angle are we taking here to kind of get in the same ballpark as Kratos without just having a pre-done champion?
Okay, so I will give you a little behind the scenes, let me start again. I will give you a little glimpse of what goes behind the scenes in Exodus's head. And Exodus absolutely adores God of War. I grew up with all the God of War games. I want to reiterate, it's God of War 4 that was re-released on PC today. So the next one, Ragnarok, don't know when that one is coming out yet. So how are we going to do a Kratos that isn't Kratos? Well, it is basically, we're going to do a very brawly fighter that, in my opinion, wants to just combo you to death. That just wants to get in there, be one of those guys that just says, hey, I'm just going to decimate you.
Oh, and Exodus, I sent you the whiteboard link. I realized before we started,
Yes.
I hadn't actually done that, so you wouldn't be able to see any of the stuff we're writing on stream. Oh
Can I just
boy,
add-
oh boy.
I adore Kratos too, but
In a
probably not
different
for the
way.
same reason. That was it. Nothing else.
Well, Roger, so before we start, have you had any kind of, I see that there's a little bit of drawing being done already. Have you got any kind of basis that we can kind of use as an initial inspiration?
So, as I always say, right? I do a lot of Pinterest research, to have it a faster way of getting the character that I have in mind on paper, not on paper, on the pad. So what I found was some kind of it was a D&D character design something. I'm just gonna make it based inspired of that. And since we're doing a shield maiden, she's buff and stuff,
What are those abs? Oh my god! I already feel inadequate. What are those abs?
Drunk. I feel like I'm watching a Steven Universe episode, and in a good way.
I'm down for it, Roger. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just surprised.
There we go.
Right.
A revelation from all respects. All right, so we feel like we're going pretty heavily into the "I just stepped out of the shower" theme.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm all here for it.
Okay. So one of the things we were debating was, are we going to take our inspiration from, because we said Kratos, kind of. Are we going to take our inspiration from the older series or the new series? So obviously we went Shield Maiden. So Shield Maiden, a little bit more hinting towards Vikings, a little bit more hinting towards Scandinavian fighters. However, there is also, because well, we're not going to reveal too much of our sources, but there's also a very similar character in Heroes of the Storm called Sonya, and Sonya is potentially something we might also be tapping into once in a while to see if it actually works in the champion we'll be designing today.
Well, before we get too much further, I suppose one of the other things we wanted to bring in is that we would ask for your help from you dear folks watching it from home, or indeed from wherever you happen to be watching from. So one of the ways which you guys can contribute, apart from just literally throwing ideas into the Twitch chat, is we've got a dice bot set up, so we could literally play a game of D&D directly out of our Twitch chat. Maybe we will one day, but for now, Exodus, what can these fine folks do with them dice?
Okay, so the first dice, I want a D5. So I think the
Do we have a D5?
command.
If not, we go set up.
Okay, otherwise a D10 also works. We'll just have it. I think we have a D10.
Yeah, D10's
set up, right?
I suppose yes. D10. I don't think there are many D5s, but D10 halved makes sense. So
we can do D10. We'll wing it. We can do D10. So I want a D10 from literally anybody in chat, and this is for a defense versus offense approach. So we're going to see if this champion actually wants to focus on the offense, wants to focus more on the defense. So if anybody out there wants to know if you want to be, if she attack or if she can also pro-attack. Come on.
So if you want to do that, if you could type !D10 into the chat. Roger, giving a good demo there and getting an 8. Good job, Roger.
Ooh,
Fantastic demonstration. So what would that get us, Castexus? Oh, wait a second. We'll obviously take a public vote over a host
I take it back.
So we got a full 10. Rhino Mike critted.
Okay, so that is
on D20s.
That is a full-on offensive. That is no defense. No, yeah, that works perfectly. I did not set this up, by the way. If you want, I'll just screenshot how I have it in my notepad, but that's full-on the offensive. That's actually kind of perfect. Okay, then I want... it can be from the same person. Was it Rhino Mike? Can be from somebody else as well. Another D10, and this goes in mobility versus crowd control. So we're gonna kind of see how this champion works. Is it somebody who just has a lot of crowd control, or somebody who is very mobile? If we get dead on the 5, so if we roll in the middle, we go for a very immobile champion. Always critting. It's nice. It's not a critical fail. I mean, if we had a 1 there, we would have ran into the issue that we might have made another Leona, which is fine, but you know. It's not
Leona, but a bit more hotter. Something.
Oh wow! I'm sure Iron Stylus would have appreciated that. I believe he based the design for Leona and his wife.
Did he?
Yeah, that's my recollection of how that one particular one went.
Oh, okay, nice.
But yeah,
I mean, fair.
Could you give us another D10 roll in the chat, since you did such a great job before providing us with a full-on berserker for our first part of our design here?
Oh, that's actually a good title, the Berserker. Or the we can add the da Berserker. I actually don't know what Olaf's title is. So something we also need to be careful for is that we don't just create we just do gender swap Olaf. That's not what we're looking for. We want to give some originality and some uniqueness in some charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent into the kits. That's a little drag race joke for you right there.
I'm gonna go quickly check because I think you might be right that Olaf's title is the Berserker, but we'll see.
It wouldn't surprise me if Berserker is somewhere in there. If we don't have anybody going in the next
sounds a very likely go-to
15 seconds.
The Berserker. Okay, so we can't.
The Berserker. Okay, I'm not surprised. Yeah.
The Berserkress.
The Berserkress.
That's pretty terrible, but let's go with it to try and encourage someone else to come up with something else. So, could we get a !D10?
The Berserker?
Oh my gosh, that's completely awful.
The Berserker.
Well, it's even worse than the Berserkeress. So that's what's going in for now. We would ask you, gentle audience, to help.
I was faster.
Oh, you were faster, but I rolled.
Another 10. We're
another
only
10.
about extremes. We could call
another
them
10.
the extremists, but that has weird connotations, so probably not.
Okay, so that is focusing a lot on crowd control. Okay, that already gives me a cool idea. Okay, and then I want one more D10 that's focusing on either engage or let's do engage versus mobility here. Engage versus mobility.
So this is how the Berserker will get onto her prey.
Yes, onto her prey.
All right, so another D10 in the chat. If
Roger, since I stole your last one, if you won. No, if you won, you can. No, I already stole yours.
The Nightbot responded to me, not to you.
Yeah, the Nightbot knew who was the most important person to respond to.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
What? What do you want to say?
Okay, let's do another. Okay, a 7. Okay, so.
What do we got there?
That has form of engages. Okay, so she has definitely got engages. So we're looking at full-on offensive, not a lot of mobility, but crowd control galore, and engage when necessary. Okay, I think that's doable.
Okay, so just to recap then, so we're kind of going from something of a bottom-up approach here. In that we've got characteristics like, even while theoretically we're starting from the idea of a berserker, we're focusing more on how they get it before we kind of start coming up with this. So full on offense, no defense, lots of crowd control, and more engages than mobility. So if you were going to describe someone who's heavier on engage than mobility, what kind of example champions might you use?
Okay, so Olaf is surprise, actually a really good example in there because engage heavy, but not a lot of mobility in there. You do have his ultimate. I'm thinking of other champions that fit that thing. Ornn is actually up there as well, and Scion, both pretty good engages, but not a lot of mobility. I'm gonna go through the tank list. Why is this on widescreen? Because I feel that fits tanks, and for some reason just typed in tank in Google, expecting to go to the League of Legends wiki.
Nice.
So I guess if we're talking about sort of axes which we're working with here, we've got stuff, we've got where you can move very slowly, but you make the other person stop, and that's how you engage in them.
Yes.
And on the other side of that is you don't stop them at all, but you're fast enough to catch up with them.
So good examples are, let me take a look. Nautilus is one of them, not particularly fast, but does have a lot of CC. Ornn, Rel is actually Rel is a perfect example of that, where she has a lot of CC, but she has a lot of engage, but has very little in terms of mobility.
Okay, so let's start putting in some example champions. So Rel, heavy engage, low mobility. Sorry, what were the other ones which you thought were good sort of example champions?
Rel, Ornn, and
Nautilus, did you say?
Nautilus, yeah. I think Nautilus because we did have a 7 for mobility. Sorry, we had a 7, so in terms of some mobility, I think Nautilus is a perfect example, as in where do we want to have this champion? It's mobility level, because Nautilus has some mobility with the anchor, with the dredge line, but you can't really say he's a very mobile champ.
Yeah, I suppose that's fair enough. So that's kind of limited mobility, where they're kind of giving up something in order to get that in. Oh, and also, I forgot to mention at the start of the show, since everything was such a rush, is we will have a new segment in here today, which will be an experimental segment, where we will try and use the power of the internet to visualize our champion on the Rift itself. It's not quite as exciting as I'm making it sound, but I feel like I'm doing a good job of overselling it. So let's say it is. Let's say it's twice as exciting as you think it is, because I don't need to make good on those specific numbers. Right. So, Exodus. So we've got kind of the idea of what kind of, like, say, some aspects of champion. So if we got the kind of the engaging kind of part of the champion here, can we now draw on something else, some other champions to be able to sort of flesh out and kind of do it, you know, it's like this, but sort of had a baby with this other champion? Like, what kind of
the first thing I want to stay away from is, okay, we're making a shield main Viking, let's just give her 2 axes. That's the most logical thing you can do. Has been done. We can go that way, and it's actually more a question towards the audience and towards you guys. We can go that way, or do we want to go for something else?
Oh, I think you're
How
right.
about
that
3 axes?
Oh, one there. There we go.
Just glue it to the forehead and then go.
Axe shucks, or juggling axes.
Yeah.
Well, we can't get away from Olaf being the most closely related champion already.
Yeah.
So we can do what, you know, does happen sometimes, which is that people look at a pre-existing champion and say, is this champion sort of fulfilling the current, like, fantasy of that idea in the ways which I'm interested in seeing? So that's the question I would open up to you and to anyone else who's got a strong opinion on Olaf. How closely do you feel like Olaf adheres to the Viking Berserker fantasy?
While people think and ponder about that question, something I've always missed in Olaf is, I'm not saying the Vikings invented it, but it definitely was one of their strong suits when it comes to battlefield tactics. Shield wall. There is nothing in Pantheon has it a little bit, but that's not really what we're looking for. There's not really a champion who has something on the lines of a shield wall.
I do remember that was actually one of the specific things. So when we were coming up with the what would eventually become the champion Forge, just chatting there. Braum. Okay, let's touch put it in. So Braum and Pantheon. So one of the ideas we had originally about was to have a shield wall style ability, because as Happy Lightstone says, shield walls are in the game to an extent, but they're only a one-person thing. And I think you might agree that it's kind of weird that a shield wall idea, like visually shield wall, sure, but that's not what a shield wall kind of is in terms of, like, you know, what, you know, people would understand from a shield wall is that's several people combining their defenses together to form a kind of formation.
Well, the thing is about the shield wall is we need to be careful because we're talking about shield wall, and this is on me. This is on me, Pete. It's on me. We're talking about shield wall when we rolled a 10 on offensive. So maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should implement it.
Maybe we can invert the idea. I don't know what on earth the idea is. Oh, also good shout on the Azir ult, because that's probably actually I feel like the Azir ult is probably closer to what shield wall is
to a shield wall
than any of the other shields are, because Pantheon just protects themselves, Braum just protects someone else, but Azir shoves people back, which is an important part of the shield wall, and also stops them from moving.
Purely from an historical point of view, one of the advantages of a well-executed shield wall is that you could rotate out troops. So you can design them into little cohorts like the Romans did, but then you rotate out troops. So you actually you don't have your front line at that point who is absolutely knackered while you have people sitting at the back doing nothing. And that was really important to some of their fighting styles. That's why you also had some of these. They said, "Oh, the Vikings fight so ferociously." It's because they're smart in the way they engaged in battle. They never had somebody, "No, you fight for an hour, and then afterwards you're literally done for the day."
I love that idea. So here is where I'm thinking at the moment. So we invert this from a shield wall to an axe wall. So
I like it.
Like if we have like a kind of a thresher, like like on a harvester going forward, which is kind of like a sort of like a little bit like a rumble ult, but just sideways.
Oh no!
So we can use the idea, so that if you had like a thresher which went forward, I love the idea. You're talking about people being rotated in and out. We could bring in the whole idea of it being like a group effort, in that the duration of this axe wall is increased by each ally that comes and touches the wall while it's in motion.
Yeah, that's something you can do. I was also thinking of the idea. Imagine that you have, because I'm looking at you, Happy. imagine you have a box, a trash box, but then it closes, it slowly closes in. Because that's actually also something very Viking, because that's what they did with the shield walls, is they separated armies and closed off other people. Yeah, Zav is a huge nerd when it comes to Vikings, pirates, and knights. Sue me.
Nice.
No, it's
I
good.
will.
It's a
Yes,
flippin'
the
battle.
battle
Yeah,
royale
actually, yeah, it's a flippin' battle royale storm. Yeah, sure, I like it.
I think that's a cool idea.
Yeah.
So what kind of ability can we, if we're gonna try this whole battle royale storm idea in here, because I think we can kind of have both things, at least for the time being. I'm trying to think of what ability that's like, so we can sort of use it as a base to jump off of.
It's like maybe similar to Mordekaiser ult in a way, because you're controlling a zone with yourself in it. But that's not really what we're going for. We're going for a structure or an object that does a lot of damage, and you don't want to pass through it, basically. A circle of axes that spins so fast that you take massive damage when you touch them, so you're incentivized to get closer to our goal. Yeah, definitely. That's exactly what I was... Thank you, Happy. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, that helps a lot in terms of trying to visualize it. So, so what I'm kind of thinking then is, this is more sort of, it's a roundabout way to get there, but I think it might work. So we've kind of got a large circle that exists around, that would kind of spawn in around the character, which would then start constricting in. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, basically. So I think that's the idea. We have a slow circle, or like a circle with medium speed rotating towards around somebody, and either you can fight in the shield wall, or you can try and get out of the shield wall but take massive damage. I'm thinking maybe we shouldn't do a circle, because at that point it's so powerful that it's directly an ultimate ability, which is fine. But something we can also do is we make it one line. So for example, where the Berserker can put the shield wall behind somebody, and then either they need to take the long way around or fight them. You can use it defensively for duels. Yeah. Go on.
So that sounds like it's somewhere between a Ornn ultimate and a Nazir ultimate.
Yeah. Somewhere along those lines.
You kind of like, you put a line down and it kind of advances, and you could either use it to attack someone with, or kind of push them out of a territory, or you can use it defensively to run away with.
Yeah, I like the thing what Happy is saying, that you can use it offensively for duels or swerve out of ganks. For example, where you look at this as just one line, and you put down the shield wall, maybe it even has a little push out effect, as say it moves with the speed of a Victor ultimate. That's pretty slow. And you can put it down, and when you're a top laner or laner anywhere, you target it towards the river, so it already is a very good deterrent for people ganking you, and that actually serves the purpose of a shield wall as well.
Okay, so yeah, I'm fine with that as an ultimate. I think that looks like, that sounds really cool already. So I guess the big thing for that is maybe we can come back to it in more of a context of what the rest of the kit is. But yeah, I think that general idea, honestly, I feel like we kind of sort of just found a way to mash both of those ideas together as much as possible. I think the idea of having a circular screen full of like axes all the way around you, feels like that's something you would see in Dota. Yeah, in that they have very, very over the top ultimates which like completely cover the whole screen. But I think this version will probably be a little bit easier to work with. But okay, so we jumped ahead and we've got an ultimate already, but that's totally fine. So to go back to the Olaf question, then I guess I'll quickly go through what I think Olaf does well from what I'm thinking. So throwing axes at people, I think it's again, like, this is an expression of the idea that I don't need to run faster than you. I just need to sort of catch you and slow you down. Yeah, so there's slowing. So in terms of, the Berserker part of the kit is being put in two ways, which is that you have a temporary sort of like enhanced version of yourself where you get extra attack speed, extra healing. I don't feel like in Olaf's case that's communicated terribly well. Like, if you were playing against Olaf, I don't think you'd realize that, oh, he's in the Berserker state now. Because Ragnarok is much more and a kind of the way to express that idea, I think, in terms of he gets like, kind of a big effect on him and you can't crowd control him. That to me feels like that's the part of the Berserker thing he's sort of fulfilling, is he's unstoppable.
I think the problem with that one is that two of these are actually, so both the ultimate and the W from Olaf are status effects. So Riot correctly said, well, the ultimate is more important as a visual cue, so we'll give the ultimate a very clear flare when it's being used, but a less clear flare when the W is used, which I get. But so that's something that's a good little tidbit for us to learn from as well, where if you do give a champion just a sort of status effect, that you only put one status effect in a kit. So I like the idea. Something I also thought we could incorporate, that's something Olaf has a little bit, but in a different way, is going back to the Kratos thing. Kratos, you want to combo. So Kratos, the original God of Wars, were hack and slash games. But the longer you had your combos up, the more damage you started doing. So maybe this is something where she puts a burn on enemies when she has a rage meter on enemy champions. So the longer you attack somebody, a meter fills up, and after a certain point, that's just an idea I'm throwing out there. And after a certain point, when that meter has filled up, then it's when the extra damage start going through because of abilities of auto attacks or yada yada yada.
Because yeah, we've got the big problem in that Samira is a recent champion and also has a combo system.
Yes.
So that makes it hard. But I like that you're trying to think a little more outside the box in terms of, ways to implement that idea.
I've never seen it. I think the only thing I can think of is Brittle. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I've never seen a champion in League where there is a sort of rage meter or a resource buildup on an enemy champion. Maybe Braum passive. Like Braum passive, and there are a couple, actually, Braum and Brand, but it's always, okay, this particular champion then. But if you really want to focus on that champion, or you really want to start doing the damage on it, I don't really think that exists.
I would maybe argue that something fairly close to it exists in 3-hit passives.
Yeah, 3-hit passives, yeah, Vayne. I was also thinking of Vayne. Yeah, it's not I mean, it's not too far off.
Not remotely a bad mechanic to have. Like, so I think this sort of starts to put us into the area of trying to figure out, Happy Light Sense, you got some name suggestions. That's great, because not Kratos is not great as a name. So with Olaf, for example, you're encouraged to keep hitting, and by keeping hitting people, you get a refresh on your just straight damage ability.
Yeah.
So that is in itself, like, it's telling you what the gameplay is, which is run up to someone and just go blah, 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 hit, blah, 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 and you're rewarded for staying on people. Ooh, Hervor, one of the most famous shield maidens. I mean,
okay, let me take a look. Let me do a little bit of research.
I'm curious as to what the other name is going to be, but I think Hervor works pretty well. Or
Does
Blender.
This beauty say Hervor?
I mean, Blender seems like a pretty on-the-nose name for this kind of champion. But
Blender.
It's also pretty hilarious at the same time. Roger, just while Exodus looks that one up, actually, can we have a little look at where you are art-wise right now?
I'm trying to make her, very ferocious with the hair, very fabulous. And then the top is just like made of leather, right? Just to be like sturdy and very like strong. And I kind of want to play around, with the leg harnesses that she got here, cause I'm just that type of girl. And she's obviously also gonna have like 1 or 2 piercings. And the original artwork had some like a tattoo on her abs, and I kind of want to bring that back in, but like not a dragon, but maybe like, I don't know, some rose or something.
We have skipped over one of, and Happy is gonna. Either she's absolutely thought of it, or she said, "Well, yeah." We have skipped over one of the biggest things we could have done. She's a Valkyrie. She's just a Valkyrie. That's something we haven't really seen.
That's true.
Instead of Berserker, we can call her the Valkyrie or whatever.
Is Sejuani or
Is she Valkyrie?
I don't know.
I think visually,
She's like the only
she's
thing
got
closest to
Valkyrie
like
stuff in
female
there.
Viking that we have in League, right? Like Ilaoi
sure.
is built like a Valkyrie, but she's like a temple mommy whatsoever.
A temple mommy.
Okay, well, yeah. So the Valkyrie, I'm trying to think of stuff I know about Valkyries. I think the main thing is just sort of retrieving people after the battle. I don't know. Do Valkyries fight in a certain way?
No,
The
so
only thing I know about Valkyries is the rite of the Valkyrie, from Haydn. No,
So-
Wagner. Sorry.
I can be wrong here. So Valkyries, they're spirits who escort the dead. Kind of like a lot of cultures have this or
Yes.
had
And they
that.
take the best of the best, right, to like fight
yeah,
in the
and
afterlife.
Yeah, so they escort the fighters, the people who've died in battle, to Valhalla, and they are awaited there when Ragnarok happens. So when Ragnarok happens, all the people that the Valkyries escorted to Valhalla, and the Valkyries will come fight alongside the Asgard. I think that's the broad idea of it.
So
Yeah,
she's
I
like,
mean-
they're like fighting recruiters, something like that.
Same, yeah. They're like your local recruiter.
Gosh, if we
That's why
don't-
so many people want to go to Valhalla, right? Because Valkyries are just hot, you know. And they're like, yeah, take me to afterlife battle, I guess.
We
Like,
promise full healthcare and dental. All I'm saying, it's a deal you cannot
and
go.
mommy vibes all the
And-
way.
Go on, Pete. You had something to say.
I'm trying to think if we hadn't just have, oh my gosh, my mind's drawing a blank. The marksman who brings people back to life. Akshan. If we hadn't just
Akshan,
had
yeah.
Akshan coming in, we could have done such a good thing with basically his ability and a Valkyrie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in terms of rewarding someone for fighting well in a team fight and her bringing them back.
I mean, just because Akshan already has doesn't mean another one can't have it too, right?
Suppose not.
Because Akshan is like, you know, on the bot lane, and like, imagine if you had someone like as a big like tank or something, be like, hey, you know,
I'm really down to just say this is the anti-action champion that just says, no, you cannot revive anyone when I'm near. Like, no, I'm the Valkyrie, I'm the big mommy here. I say
your,
no,
your
Akshan.
microphone does not like you screaming.
Really?
No,
Is
it
I-
definitely doesn't.
Oh, I changed.
Your microphone is just
Hold
like,
up.
shh, stay quiet.
Is this better? Is this better?
Yes.
hello?
See when you
I
get
think so.
loud?
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I changed some settings earlier this week, and it's not where it needs to be.
I think we could, as much as I think the Valkyrie type champion is interesting, like, I think we could maybe fit in some of the Valkyrie style mechanics without necessarily making her specifically a
Yeah.
Valkyrie.
We can put it between brackets where we say Valkyrie is optional, but we don't really necessarily need to go for that. But we
Like she was
something-
meant to be a Valkyrie, but then she was like, nah.
Oh, that's interesting. She was rejected as being a Valkyrie. That is
Ooh,
actually.
And now
yeah.
she's mad.
Now she mad. Yeah.
That's why she's like the anti reviving someone, right? Because you know the Valkyries revive someone basically, you know, and she's like, you know what? No, I'm not having that. None of that bullshit.
That's a cool idea. I wish there was more revival mechanics in League so that could be
Yeah.
an anti-revival mechanic could be a thing. I don't think it is.
Maybe
oh,
it will, you know, with like Akshan being the first, kind of.
well, actually, okay,
hope
yeah, Happy
not.
Light
I
Sense
really
making
hope
a point that Akshan kind of, it's a bit more of a mid lane AD carry, I think, originally.
Mhm.
But
Oh, okay.
yeah, much for muchness.
Oh.
I do like the idea of her, like,
yeah.
seeing someone as worthy, though. Like, that's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole Valkyrie thing is, did you die honorably? And apologies
No.
to anyone who actually is, you know, from the regions which have this mythology in which we are horribly butchering. If anyone is in the chat who happens to know more about this, please do tell us.
Don't hate us.
Oh yes, Happy Light Sense came up with a good line for the Berserker, which is, "I long for a worthy opponent."
Yes.
Yes.
She definitely should have interaction with Fiora when it comes to Purely because of that voice line. Something we haven't written down is the a little bit with the combos, longer fights. I think let's just keep calling her the Berserker. The Berserker definitely wants long fights. Somebody who says, okay, I don't mind being in a 1v1 that lasts for a full 60 seconds.
That's gonna be hard to pull up.
That's a long fight. That's a lot of adrenaline. Like, are you sure people will be able to handle that?
I mean, a little bit over exaggerating here with 60 seconds, but if you gotta handle the Berserker, you gotta have stamina. That's all I'm saying.
Wow, you need to hose you guys down this session. It's art.
I mean...
It's art that's having this effect. I do apologize, gentle, innocent viewers. This is not normally what happens, but sometimes the moon is out.
This is exactly what happens.
Officially speaking, this has never happened before. I do apologize.
Well, the thing is, it has never. We have never, like, been comfortable enough to, like, let it out, right? Like...
Oh, well, I guess that's a good thing. Sort of.
So, gameplay.
Yes, let's. Oh my lord, let's talk about gameplay.
Stamina.
So, Exodus, what I'll put to you, and this is always going to be a hard question, but it's a hard question which I think is always worth considering, even if we don't necessarily have a perfect answer to this, is what problem is the Berserker solving? Like, what is missing from League, and what is the Berserker going to add to it?
Okay, so 80 carries are broken at the moment.
Sorry, sometimes. Sorry, I was offline for a second. My internet is.
So 80 carries are broken at the moment, and I can already feel what's going on. Okay, it's the cycle. We're going through the motion again. All right. Oh yeah. Bruisers were strong for a certain period for one season, and all of a sudden, all the 80 carries, all the bot laners, and because there were two in that lane, they start whining. It's like, our champions can't 1v5 anymore. So they just made ADCs a little bit too strong at them right now. Now what we want to see is we want to see bruisers who, yes, can have some form of mobility, have some form of engage, but if you come close, if you land a skill shot or land a gap closer as a bruiser on an ADC, that ADC should be dead. Like, that marksman is dead, no questions asked. Unless that person has like 10 kills, even then, if they have bad positioning, they should be dead. So maybe we fix something where we find something that is very healthy, where yes, this champion has a form of mobility, but maybe it's very, very tiny, and it's better against other bruisers. So it's like the anti-bruiser champion. So, which is literally every bruiser.
Sorry, so anti-AD carry or anti-bruiser?
I would say
yes.
Yes. Yes. I actually don't know. It is a difficult question because, I mean, there's Pro Play has just been out for 2 days. I mean, not even. So I would still say the carries are a little bit broken, but you cannot make a bruiser that is so mobile. And I hate that League has released so many mobile bruisers. I kind of want to solve that issue where it's yes, there is mobility in there, but you can't you can't just buy a ticket to Milan and fly back at the same time while you're just recalling. That's what all of these bruisers do now.
Oh, Hearty Viking, who of course is an expert on the subject matter, is looking for.
Yes, that's that. Yeah, I like that idea. You cannot disengage. Yes.
Okay, so it sounds like, and I'm trying to make sure I'm understanding this correctly, that well, you said anti-mobility identity. I know that AD carries aren't traditionally massively mobile, so maybe I'm misunderstanding you.
I think actually, and Hearty Viking phrased it perfectly. That's a really good idea. Where they kind of did a little bit in Dota. So in Dota, their blink, literally blink called there. You cannot use it while in combat. I don't know if it's still that way. It might have changed already, but I know that's a change they made. They made it really interesting because if you translate that to League, you can only realistically are going to use Flash and is an engagement tool. Or maybe as in, just like where you have a double flash, when your opponent flashes after you and you immediately flash out. I think that's something you can maybe do. Maybe you could do something along those lines where she has mobility, but as soon as she's in combat, that mobility is kind of nullified.
Okay, that's an interesting idea. I had coming to mind when you were talking about that, the kind of like a flash that. No, I suppose we kind of already got that sort of idea. I was thinking like a flash that can only flash towards enemies,
Yeah.
but on a long
Actually,
cooldown so that you can use it to get onto somebody, but you can't use it just kind of to run away continuously.
what I had the idea of, what if she has a small dash, but if she collides with somebody, so she actually wants to collide with people. Now, when she's been in combat for over 5 seconds, or when she's in combat, that ability changes to something else. It is no longer a dash. It is something else entirely.
It's a bunk.
It's a bunk, yeah.
Okay, I like the idea of an ability that changes form. So out of combat, I'm just putting this arbitrarily on the queue because I like the idea. So small mobility ability, in combat, something else. Yeah, that would not be a bad sort of like gimmick to try and build a character around, is having a whole kit which is, I know we like having out overloaded kits, but a character who has a different kit in and out of combat, that itself is kind of an interesting avenue to explore.
I think that's really cool because that's definitely something that does not exist in League, and definitely something that I'm trying to think of other MOBAs. I'm trying to think. I think there's something in Heroes of the Storm, but I'm not sure. But it's definitely not. If it's in Heroes of the Storm, it's definitely not common in Heroes of the Storm.
I mean, we usually ask Happy Light Sense if she happens to be around because she's got a much better brain for remembering stuff from different places. So, Happy or Hearty, if you can think of any champions who've got actually different kits in and out of combat, I like the idea. I think there's probably some interesting, even if it does exist somewhere, like there's some interesting sort of avenues we could explore there, which wouldn't be possible with a different kind of kit. So, okay, so we've got like a, so let's say for the sake of argument, just a blink adds the out of combat.
A small blink ability somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally fine. So, if we say that, so in combat, I mean, all it really needs to be is it just changes to anything which isn't a small blink.
Yeah, it can literally be anything else. It can be extra damage. It can even be a stun if you want to. It works perfectly. Man, I really like that idea. I think they should do that more on champions, where it's just if you're in combat, your kit kind of, or at least one ability kind of changes.
Well, let's see. So this is why I'm trying to push to kind of get her identity a little bit more solidified before we start brought in here. Is because we're trying to figure out what are these abilities doing for her. Like, what is she kind of functionally achieving by using these abilities, as opposed to just. Because it's very easy to be like, I use ability to get on someone and I hit them until they're dead. But that's kind of every champion if you break it down that broadly.
Yeah, fair.
So if we're trying to go for anti-mobility, and I suppose this is a testament to the right team.
I know a problem that needs to be solved.
Yeah.
There are 3 champions at the moment, probably more, but there are 3 champions who are a little bit problematic. As a top laner myself, Tryndamere, Jax, and Aurelia. Lethal Tempo, as you can see, is the main reason for that. But those are 3 champions which are extraordinarily difficult to stop. And especially something like in Tryndamere will just have so much damage output that it doesn't really matter. You can go 0-5, but as soon as your game lasts 27 minutes, you have a Tryndamere, so you're fine. And I think that's a problem that kind of needs to be solved. Maybe a champion that if you... I'm thinking of something that is actually what would be good counterplay against that. Tryndamere has one of the most problematic ults in the game still, where it's literally, you have no counterplay. It is the definition of no counterplay, because you cannot die. I don't know if there's and Jax has a thing where you just scale late game, but when you go up against other bruisers, they usually work with auto attacks. And, well, Jax kind of stomps on you when you're a champion that works with auto attacks.
Well, the kind of stuff I can think of in that area would be, so, I mean, yeah, with the melee carries, that's always been a difficult sort of design space, I think, because they have to be super strong when they get up close and personal. Otherwise, all of the effort it took to get up close and personal wasn't worth it in the first place. So why even play the champion? But I get what you mean in terms of they can like get out of control. If we were looking at ways to kind of provide some sort of release valve for that kind of champion, then the stuff that comes to mind would be terrain creation for... I suppose, no, the ones you noted, so certainly for Tryndamere and for Aurelia, they've got dashes, so terrain creation wouldn't really help. You need to go as far as a Poppy Steadfast Presence, where you actually negate their ability to close distance.
Or you could kind of reverse, you could kind of put it on its head. Remember, this is a champion that does a lot of damage, and we were talking about maybe, I don't know if we can make it tie into the whole Valkyrie or Shield Maiden thing. But what if she has sort of a built-in Anathema's chain somewhere, where it's, if you're really up against this champion for a long time, so for example, you're a champion that is trying to stop a Jax, that is trying to stop a Tryndamere, you have something in your kit that just says, look, you are going to push this lane, you're trying to split push as a Tryndamere, I am not allowing you because my kit, it has something that just says, I am not allowing you to dive me. I am not allowing you to just full on go ham on me.
Okay. I'm totally fine with that idea of, okay, if we switch that around, so the identity is an anti-dive champion.
Almost like yeah, I don't know, something of the lines, or an anti-damage champion. I'm thinking of something, I said Anathema's Chain because I like the idea of Anathema's Chain, where it's very much a, yes, the item is really good, but also in certain situations, because it only has effect on against one particular champion. So maybe there is something in the Berserker's kit where she can just go, hey, you're up against a Tryndamere, you're up against a Jax, you're going to deal a hell of a lot of damage, but I have this thing as an ace up my sleeve as well.
Okay, so trying to think if how this is going to work. So you've got to be for her to have a meaningful interaction with somebody, you know, a Tryndamere or whatever it is, trying to jump onto a carrier and murder them, she's got to be with somebody else. So it's got to be an ability that works, you know, with a buddy, or like, you know, helps out your buddy in some way, be that through damage or crowd control on the person who's diving you.
Yeah.
Do you have any ideas in terms of what kinds of things it could be? So you mentioned Anathema's Chains. So in that case, that's they deal less damage to you, but that wouldn't stop them from killing your carry, presumably.
No, I think that's something that's in there. Thinking of something else you can do. There's maybe something where you can just say I lower, because all those three champions work off attack speed, where the longer you attack me, the more I lower your attack speed. So for every, I'm just spitballing here, for every 4 auto attacks or 3 auto attacks you do on me, I lower your attack speed by 15% or something along those lines. So, because remember, Tryndamere, Aurelia, and Jax are 3 champions that ramp up. And that's why they are such a big thing to deal with in the late game. They keep ramping up. Jax has his passive, Aurelia has her passive, and you know what, Tryndamere has his passive. So maybe she has something where, okay, you keep doing these auto attacks on me, that's nice and all, but I am kind of negating what you're trying to do.
Okay, so it will sound like I'm disagreeing with you a lot, but what I'm trying to do is try and narrow down what it is. So that doesn't sound like an anti-dive champion, because again, the diving champion is not going to be focusing her. They're going to be focusing on the carry. So it sounds more like an anti-carry. Just
an anti-carry champion almost, yeah.
Okay, I think that's totally fine. So she's kind of turning the strength of the person against themselves.
Yeah, sort of.
Hopefully a interesting way, as opposed to just a I feel bad for having been successful in this game, what kind of way. Okay, I like that idea. So can you think of any specific mechanics that would, I mean, Thornmail, I suppose, is one that kind of comes to mind as an idea
I just had is, what if you have Thornmail, but instead of reflecting damages, you lower the enemy's resistance. So when they attack you, you kind of steal away resistances. I don't think have we done something similar? I'm trying to think of if we've done something along those lines. I don't think we have. Where if you get, I know what was the name of our robot again? Was it just simply
B-bot?
B-bot, yeah, B-bot. B-bot had something where the resistances where his resistances were increased the longer he was attacked. But I don't think we have something where, hey, I attack you or you attack me, and I am literally taking away all of your resistances. So longer fights are more and more easy for me.
Okay, I'm just trying to sort of figure out how this would work.
Could be a passive. Could literally just be a passive.
So if this is kind of, I guess this is more like maybe it's more an anti-duelist.
Or a duelist that is good against other duelists. Yeah.
Okay, so because if you're stealing, gosh, this is a complicated logic here, because it's like if you're stealing defenses, then you're sort of functionally doing damage in that your future stuff will do more damage, but not, I guess, just stuff right now.
Let's just make her honestly, let's just make her completely bonkers and say all stats. Kind of use or not maybe all stats, but you steal a lot of stats. You can steal after a while. You'll start stealing AD. You'll start stealing attack speed, resistances, maybe even. Let's not say movement speed, but a lot of these stats are being stolen the more you'll attack the Berserker.
Okay. I can see this kind of working as what I just had come into mind was some sort of Zack style ability, where maybe this would kind of make more sense if she was attacking you, I think. But that she kind of like carves things off of you, like carves sort of Zack blobs like Zoe power-ups kind of off of you as she attacks you, and that reduces your stats in a particular way temporarily, and she can pick those up to use them for herself.
Yeah. I was thinking along the lines of let's say every 3, because it's League, every 3 consecutive auto attacks that you receive from a champion, after those 3 consecutive auto attacks, you will steal a flat amount, or you will steal a percentage of resistance, or you will steal a percentage of stats. So,
okay,
why I'm really hammering on this concept is when you're up against Jax on your Rally or Tryndamere, and I'm picking those 3 champions for a reason, because they're a very similar playstyle. It's very difficult to do something against them. But I think with this, because they work so much off of auto attacks, let's say, for example, you're up against another good duelist, like a Mordekaiser or like a Camille. Camille doesn't really do a lot of auto attacks on you. So every 3 auto attacks, you steal 2% or something. Yeah, fine. She's not really. It's okay. It's not great, but Camille isn't really gonna matter at that point. Isn't really gonna care at that point. But I think a Jax will say, "Wow, I've hit her 12 times. I've had 14% or something of my stats stolen. Maybe I should stop attacking the Berserker."
Yeah. Okay. So in that case, then we've kind of got into more the anti-split pusher space.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking that if you've got a passive based across people attacking you, again, as is so often be the case, the answer to that is that people just don't attack you.
Yeah, it's cool, but you're gonna die then to the Berserker.
Okay, I'm alright to roll with that idea. So sure, let's put it in as a placeholder one. That so every 3 consecutive attacks on the Berserker gives her a small version of the oh my gosh, Trundle subjugate effect, if you want to put in.
I think that's a good way of phrasing it. Like every 3 consecutive auto attacks on the Berserker gives a small subjugate effect.
Okay. Okay. So, in terms of how that would work out in play, then yeah, either you're going up against their split pusher, or I suppose you're chasing their AD carry, are the 2 situations where I can see that being most relevant. So
also, this actually kind of works as well again to our first point with ADCs, because as an ADC you never want to focus, or at least when it's a 1v1, it also becomes difficult to kind of focus the Berserker.
okay. Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. So I'm trying to think of how this would work in a team fight. Maybe that's something to come back to later, because presumably you need to be tracking like what potentially 5 different people are doing. Maybe it's the kind of thing that she does. It's not necessarily 3 attacks from the same person, but just on the 3rd attack that hits her in like the cycle that goes round, the effect activates, rather than it being that one particular person has to hit her 3 times in a row.
Yeah. That's a good change, because then in that's actually a good change. So every 3rd attack that hits her, let's say champion attack that hits her.
Okay.
Okay. I think then afterwards we can start moving on to abilities.
All right, cool. Yeah, I think that's a neat idea. Like, I think as well, like, what I particularly like about this idea is that we spent a lot of time kind of trying to figure out why.
I know. Exactly.
So, it's the reason that's good in particular, if any of you folks out there are looking for your own champion design stuff, is we're looking for things which we can be told are provably wrong. And the only way which we can do that is by kind of coming down quite hard and saying, we're doing this for this reason. And then we can have Feral Pony say, no, you dummies! That's how Feral Pony talks.
Because we can, that's why we do it.
But we can be told like, oh yeah, like that sort of makes sense, but there's this other way of doing it which is just better. Or,
exactly.
or whatever.
Which
it's
is
just
better.
cooler.
So, okay, yeah.
We already tried this in 2017 and it didn't work out, but you know.
That's
good
also
try,
how Feral
though.
Pony talks. We've got the proof. You can check our YouTube channel. Absolutely. I definitely felt like that session with Feral Pony made a great effect on us for the rest of our lives. So, but anyway, so we've got the dual kind of thing going on here. We've got an anti-split pusher who makes it hard for auto-attack based split pushers.
Pete, can you move the on stream? Can you move the text a little bit, because the actual
It has fallen off the screen a bit, hasn't it?
Yes.
Let's see if I can whoop that back. There we go.
There we go.
Thank you for letting me know that. We had to, so to explain why that's the case, had to reset up the stream from scratch just before we started, as is always the fun way of doing things. So there's, if there's any other stuff that's kind of not as it should be, please, anyone watching, please let us know. Alright, so we've got the anti-split pushing and maybe like a sideline in anti-AD carry as an idea, because I think I do like the scaling here, because that's a very good balance lever for the passive. Is, you know, how much of the way of stats it steals is very, very adjustable.
Also, don't forget there are loads of champions, especially when you're looking at something like a top lane. There are loads of champions who do not work with auto attacks, who can just say, "Yeah, fine." Like seriously, every 3 auto attacks. Good luck. I'm never gonna give you 3 auto attacks.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. I don't think we necessarily design enough champions which are particularly terrible against a significant portion of the existing league lineup. So I think that's good. I don't know if anyone's got any ideas for the... I'm not really sure thematically what's happening with the Berserker when she's sort of taking attacks and turning them into more stats for herself. Maybe we can figure that out as we go. Like it's some sort of range. Never gonna give you up. Oh, happy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All
okay.
right. So, I mean, we're gonna put that in for now because honestly.
And then the Q is never gonna make.
It could always be, I will make you cry.
Yeah. Oh no, the Q is oh come on, oh my god. I'm never gonna give you up, I'm gonna make you
I'm going to run around.
And
I'm going to run
you.
around and berserk you, yes. Oh, that's what her dance should be. Her dance should literally be like the Rick Astley move that he makes, where he goes
Yes!
like a little bit like.
That's an incredible line. See, even Happy was impressed by that one, so good job, Exeter. Managed to impress the real brains of the operation in the chat. All right.
Like when it comes to rewriting lyrics, sometimes I've like it's like my special talent,
Oh yeah.
right? Like
That's your passive.
I do. Yes, that's my pass. Oof.
Well, if you can think of any more, I mean, that's the only part of the song that people really remember, isn't it? But I suppose we can always make this slightly deeper cuts by including verse lyrics in there somewhere. Okay.
The verse Zerker. Huh? Huh?
Oh,
No?
I actually like that.
That hurts.
A warrior
Ow.
poet kind of thing.
A warrior poet, yeah, and they're
No, I think that's actually really good.
the ultimate can be called Battle Song or something along the lines then.
Oof.
I think that'd be really cool. I mean, maybe maybe neither of us have got very good taste. That's what it is.
I don't mind. I don't mind. It's our show. We can do whatever we want.
I think the verse Zerka, it sort of makes your brain hurt a little bit to hear it, but it's
Yeah.
also very clever.
Mm.
Yeah, it's sort of.
Why does it
just-
make your brain hurt? Because he's out of tune?
We've known each other for too long.
We've known each other for like 2 minutes.
Nice.
I'm actually gonna look up.
good material.
I'm gonna look up the lyrics and never gonna give you up.
Oh my gosh, this is definitely gonna be a good use of time. Wow.
Okay, let's move on to
all right.
the other.
So what we're gonna go through and once we've got the abilities, we're gonna go through and use the visualizer to demonstrate what these abilities can look like in a fight. So far, what Texas, tell me if I'm reading this wrong here. So we've got someone with an out of combat blink.
Sorry.
So, oh, that was
Is
interesting.
my
Sam.
roommate in the background?
Oh, right, fair enough. I thought that was a cat. So we've got the Berserker,
Berserker.
So right now she's not I suppose she's basically got Hex Flash, doesn't she? She's basically just got Hex Flash built into the kit.
Yeah, it's a form of Hex Flash, but it turns into something else when you're in combat.
Yeah, I think that's a neat idea. So Hex Flash means that you have a lot of the play pattern, which you would have with Hex Flash, which is that she will set herself up in bushes and things and be like, boink, jump on people.
Yeah.
So, okay, so that's what she's... So in lane, she's kind of going to look a little bit like Rengar in terms of if she needs to set herself up out of combat to get the blink back, that she's going to put herself into bushes and then blink out of those bushes.
Mm,
At least
yeah,
that's...
sure.
Because if you're not in a bush, you have to fall all the way back to get out of combat, so you wouldn't be able to get this ability back. I don't know if necessarily...
Well, I'm thinking it could be like. Can you elaborate a little bit on that one, Happy? He runs, she blinks. Yeah, I mean, one thing I was thinking of: what if we say combat but not involving minions or something along the lines, like not involving minions but involving combat from champions and turrets.
Okay.
So then you don't need to be sitting in bushes, because then you can just say, well, if I'm farming minions, I can also still engage. But as soon as you hit the Berserker, actually, you got to start finding a name for her. As soon as you hit her, then you...
Happy had some very good names before, so Herbal or Blender. I think Blender is hilarious.
Blender is hilarious, yeah.
So that's maybe just the way we should go here.
Blender.
Even though it feels a little bit disrespectful to say someone's name is hilarious, but it still is in this context. Alleged heroine from Smarland.
Sweden. Yeah, I'm looking her up as well.
Blender is like Brenda, but not. Alright, well if you're alright with this, let's put in Blender for the time being. And I don't imagine we'll actually come up with a better name, but I'm actually totally happy with that. It's you know, it's pretty, again, it's pretty on the nose, but I think it gets the idea across.
Blunder.
And it helps it's historically authentic as well. Okay, so yeah, I like your idea. I'm going to put that as part of the passive, just to, this is like, it's not an actual passive, it's just an explanation of how her abilities work. So Blender gets an alternate version of her abilities when in champion combat.
Yeah. Okay. So do we want to give her a very, very small... So something I was thinking of. What if you literally give somebody a sidestep? Where it's... So imagine for example, she literally... Thematically, she grabs the ground and just pulls herself away. For a very... Or something along the lines where you literally push it, does a little jump. But it's a tiny range, it's not big, it's mainly used to dodge either skill shots or dodge incoming projectiles, or if you collide with somebody, you stun them. Ooh. So it can be used where you can...
Ooh, that is pretty cool, actually.
Yeah. She stabs the ground.
You know, because she's like so buff, you know, and so like when she sidestep into someone, it's like BAM!
Yeah, so she does a little bit sidestep, but when you collide with somebody, it's like BAM! You're just knocked up for like... It's a small stun, but you are stunned.
Okay, there aren't many facing-based abilities in League of Legends, I think, because unlike Dota, we don't have turning speeds, so facing isn't as much of a concern, but I think the idea is cool. Happy seems to be into it as well, and I think
she also, like, it matches also with her offensiveness, right?
Yeah, because she wants to be offensive, so you kind of want to bonk into people.
She's actively looking for a fight.
I do like the idea of a flash that only or like a dash that only goes sideways.
Yeah.
I guess, so the reason I think this doesn't exist already is because if you think of how sort of current dash abilities work, that you end up with a sort of like a directional indicator, and that's showing you where you're going to go. So if you put that indicator just sideways, you're basically just dashing in a straight line anyway.
Yeah, well, the thing, don't forget, with a lot of people, you don't have a directional indicator, but remember that you just need to, you don't need to move your mouse. I'm just thinking of, okay, why would you limit yourself to only dashing in a certain direction? Because you only need to press one button. You don't need to aim your mouse and say, I'm going to go there. Because if you press the button, you immediately dash into that, you immediately dash in the direction. Yeah, obviously it ties into where you were facing or whatever, but it's way faster than, for example, a Riven E, because you need to, with a Riven E because you need to aim your mouse first.
I could see it working with the thing is, like, I actually really love this idea. I'm trying to devil's advocate against this, try and make sure.
Yeah, no, it's good, because then we can ping pong.
So I could actually see it working with the quick cast indicator, and just that the direction that you're pointing your mouse at that time, rather than it being like where your mouse is, that's where the indicator is. It's just the indicator would be at a 90-degree angle to wherever your mouse happens to be at the time.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Because I actually think this is a really cool ability idea, and I don't recall any champion who's got something similar in terms of like sort of a specifically evasive movement that isn't just make myself untargetable like Fizz would be.
Well, I'm thinking, for example, when you're running away from somebody, for example, a Lee is chasing you or a Fizz is chasing you, you know where you're gonna get the Q or the Chum the Waters from Fizz. You could just keep on point. You don't need to do the fancy footwork where you just run around but not really moving. You could just point to, I want to go there, and as soon as you see the ability, you instantly hit the sidestep. So you know, I will have dodged that. I am very tricky to hit with with those particular kinds of abilities.
I guess, well, I'm trying to think, like, in terms of how you would use this as a player, but you could have it in that it just doesn't have an indicator, and that you just
really
sort of
quick.
Activate it, and you just have to learn. Maybe I don't know if that's a bit overly harsh.
Yeah.
But I guess so a dash, is this an in or out of combat ability for her?
Ooh.
Both, or?
Oh, yeah, that's actually a good one.
There seems like there's use cases for both, certainly.
You could say you could do a little bit different and say in combat there's a bigger in combat the side swipe is or the range where she swipes to, so the dash is longer, but out of combat, but in combat the stun is bigger. I think that's something where you can, for example, you say, okay, when you're not in combat and when you stun somebody, it's 0.5 of a second, but when you're in combat and you stun somebody, all of a sudden it's an added extra second.
Okay, to her current position, is there any lore or gameplay reason why it should be a one or the other? Because are we having a set?
Yeah.
Like, is it going to be set, like left or right? In which case, presumably she would play differently on red and blue side because that's where she can do her dashes.
That's actually something I hadn't thought about. Yeah, because there is a difference there. Ooh.
It's not necessarily a bad thing in of itself, it's just something to think about.
Maybe, hear me out. Maybe that's something you let the player choose, where they can literally freely swap. Where you say your next, where you have a sort of, like a Rengar or whatever. Like
so something we don't have in League is the ability to toggle versions of ability by, say, holding that ability down. So say like, in the same, because currently, say with Singe, you just toggle it on and off. But what about the idea that with this one that you toggle which direction she's going? Like, maybe that's the out of combat version, or like it's an out of combat thing you can do. Is that if you hold down W, you don't dash. It sort of fills up a little timer, and when that timer ends, it switches the direction you're going.
Yeah, true. I mean, the only one who has that ability, who has it a little bit, is Warwick, with his Q, or if you hold it, you will be dragged when the person dashes. But I like it a lot, where, for example, you say you would W, do something else first. Yeah, cool.
That's a really good
you can do it. Actually, you can do this pretty easy. As you said, so you press W, and then you literally pick Q or E to go left or right.
Oh, I like that idea.
That's really easy. Yeah.
I've never heard of a champion combining abilities in that kind of way, but
where it's because it doesn't change the ability in a way. It just gives you more the option to go to sidestep left or right.
So you would sort of enter a channel state. Actually, no, I kind of like the design here a little bit more. Happy says Pike has it with his Q.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, fair.
How does the Pike Q work again? I'm trying to remember.
So you charge up the... So either you have a stab, or when you charge, you get a pull.
Oh, yes, you got the alternate version. So, okay, I like your idea quite a lot there. So, so rather than choosing the direction by holding down the W key, so W, let's see, so it's a charging ability, and while charging, use Q to dash left and E to dash right.
Yeah.
That's a really cool idea, and I don't think I can think of anything that works in that kind of way.
In the MOBAs I've played, I have not seen that concept. Like in purely, because this is very UI heavy, right? I've not seen that concept because there's no reason why it shouldn't exist. You can say, well, simplicity is, well, yeah, but you can explain this in a sentence.
Okay, so with a side swipe, I just call it that because that's the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah.
So if Blender collides with a champion, she'll deliver a short stun.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the difference between the out of combat and in combat? Again, now we've kind of come back with a better idea what the champion does.
Well, do we want to continue with the, we can, we don't have to, but we can continue with this with the W. I thought
in this case, I don't know if it feels like it's as necessary.
I don't think it's necessary for this ability to continue the in combat out combat team.
Okay, that's fine. I'm okay with that as well. I will move this down to here in case you want to use it for.
I'm actually already a big fan of Overtrain. I know it's been a struggle in the beginning to kind of define the identity and work out the DNA. We're playing God over here, but but it's coming together.
DNA.
Yeah,
That's right. We should take a very abrupt turn. Blender the Dinosaur. Yes. All right. So let's take stock of what we've gotten so far. So we've got the passive, which means if you fight Blender for an extended period as a auto attack based champion, you'll get more punished for it. So notably, which we haven't sort of talked about as of yet, this is a source of tankiness for Blender as well as being a detriment to the person attacking her. So we've got to include that as part of her identity in some way, that she becomes tanky over the fight. And maybe we need to find some way to get her to take use of that. Because if she's... Oh, wait, no. We've already established she's full on offense, no defense. So
yeah,
never
she's
mind
full
that.
offense, no defense.
Okay. So we've got... So she'll blink. And there's nothing very much... So all you can do to stop her blinking is to hit her ahead of time. So ranged champion would have that advantage over her.
Yeah,
that you could
definitely
skill shot her or something, and that will stop her from blinking on you. We're building in a lot of counterplay from the very beginning here, which is interesting. It's not something I think we've deliberately done before. So she'll jump on you, most likely. We actually should probably go back to this here. What's the Q gonna do once you've jumped onto somebody? What does it do then? Like, what's she trying to accomplish?
It can, I mean, probably just something that... Okay, so the Q is not something where you will poke within lane. I would say something that does a lot of damage, where you just go, look, you can't go out anymore, so you cannot really get out of the fight, so you want to do a lot of damage. I mean, it can be as simple as something, for example, where she spins around and she does like a lot of AD damage, or just does a quick spin and in 0.2 a second she'll does a lot of damage around her. A steroid boosted up Garen E or whatever.
Yeah, I think I know there's certainly in Clash Royale there's the Valkyrie archetype there, which is just like spin in an AoE and do a bunch of burst damage. I don't think there's anything wrong with just taking that idea. So
No.
okay, so small AoE burst damage. That feels like that could probably have more complex stuff to it there, but I think that's fine for now. At least we've got an idea of what she's doing. So she's getting up in your business and then throwing down AoE. So if she can maybe get between several champions, then that's particularly good.
Yeah.
And then the side
I think
swipe...
yeah.
No, please.
The E also needs to be, I would say, a powerful ability, or something that does damage at least. Because if you give something like, actually, you can say that the side swipe does a lot of damage when you collide with somebody. That's not a bad thing, because the one thing you just need to do is, well, not get hit. And I think this would be
Wow. How to survive in League, just not get hit. Like, okay.
Not get hit, lol.
Well, I mean, we can always try and build in more stuff that's going to... Because right now we've got 2 forms of mobility in a kit. So obviously we're up to standard already. Yeah, we're getting there.
We're at 7. She had 7 on mobility. I think having 2 forms of mobility is okay then.
So, if we're going to try and lean in more to her kind of anti-auto-attacking, anti-carry identity, can we think of anything that would... because right now, closing a distance is not a problem for Blender. She's got 2 different ways of doing it. So now we probably
she has a stun.
Yes. So she can get up close and personals with you, and she can keep you there. Now I think with the E, we probably need to have something which she does when she gets there.
Okay, yeah, exactly. So when Blender gets into the fight...
Sorry. He is in a League game, actually.
Battle Cry.
That's what it is. That's the only
the time of
thing
his life.
that could have been.
Okay, so Battle Cry, I think that's just perfect.
All right, there we go. Yep, Battle Cry.
Battle
I love
Cry.
it. Life informs art.
Yeah. What does the Battle Cry do? Well, you're in there. You can stun your opponents, I'm guessing.
We have got a stun literally in the other ability.
I know. That's why. Maybe a self buff wouldn't be bad if it's just kind of a passive, or kind of a passive effect when you're maybe already in combat.
Well, let's try and think about it. Like, what is Blender doing? So, we've got the idea that she's getting into somebody's face, she's staying there, she's making them stay there. But what is she trying to do? Like, is she trying to murder them? Like, is she effectively like a melee carry? Or is she trying to make them unable to murder other people by CCing with them all day? Or something else?
I mean, we have actually created something that is very... This is unintentional, but... and I don't want to... don't know if I should say it, but this is something that can actually kind of work as a top laner / support, which is cool because that is a role that is extraordinarily tricky to... Or a bruiser / top laner / support. That's a role that is extraordinarily tricky to fill, but this works perfectly. So, it could literally be something as simple as I defend my... no, fuck. She couldn't have defense. I return some damage to you, or just I buff myself. That's something where I do have a lot of damage, or I stall you. All of those things are viable.
We've got stalling with the with side swipe already.
Yeah. So straight up damage is not a bad thing, by the way. Like just giving her straight up damage with this ability.
Well, I think the thing is like the reason I'm I hesitate on this is because we're so close to making just Olaf again, just with slightly updated mechanics.
I mean, yes and no, as in. Okay, I'll agree. We're touching, we're tipping our toes in Olaf water, and we want to stay in the Blender straight.
Well, let's throw back in the axe wall idea, because I think maybe having that more a part of the conversation, because maybe we can have something that plays with the axe wall. So this is the slow moving, longer lasting Azir wall.
I mean, it was a little bit intentional, but the other two abilities, I kind of kept the axe wall in the back of my head, because especially the side swipe, Q a little bit less, but especially the side swipe works really well with an axe wall.
Yes, I think the side swipe into the axe wall would make a lot of sense. So large damage. I presume it's not Azir wall like in that it actually knocks people back, because presumably you want people to stay inside the wall.
Let's say when you're in the wall, let's say the wall is quite big, and when you're in the wall, you're slowed. You're slowed for like 20 or 30%, which is enough to deter you from not going in there for too long.
How about so if we have the slow as well, maybe the damage ramps up while they're in the axe wall.
Oh yeah. Kind of like, what if you have something like a like old Raven bleed effect, or current Darius's bleed effect, or you have a stacking debuff.
Okay, yeah.
Or let's not say debuff, let's just say a stacking bleed effect.
Yeah, I'm absolutely fine with that. I think that just makes it a little bit more metal, which is a good thing to have.
Metal!
Alright, so we've got the side swipe, which pushes them into the axe wall. I think we need, presumably, we do need some kind of dueling ability for Blender herself.
Yeah, that's the one thing that Blender does not have.
I feel like there's such interesting stuff, particularly in play with the side swipe, and I feel like we need to have something clever for the E, but maybe that's not right. I don't know.
It wouldn't be. Yeah, I think something. I know what you're trying to say. It's difficult to put into words, but there is something missing here from making her go. Because the W is great. I like the passive. The ult is it's not out there, but it's very standard and it's very intuitive to get. But there's something missing with the E where you can say, oh yeah, this defines. Now you have a champion. Now you have something that's very logical almost.
Yeah, well that's the thing. Like we could very easily put Olaf's E into this position here and have it work with this kind of kit, and that's why I'm with you here, that it really feels like we've got some kind of extra mechanic or something that needs to be in here to make Blender stand out as a champion, as opposed to being, this is a functional champion, but not necessarily a super exciting champion to play as.
Oh, I'm also looking at how much time do we have left?
Probably negative amount of time at this point. And we're coming close to an hour and a half. So thank you for you folks who come through. Normally we try and stick to an hour, but we got a little too enthusiastic with this one. While we ponder for a second, let's take a quick look across at the art scene.
Yeah.
So Roger, how are you feeling about Blender the Berserker?
Oh, she's beautiful. I am completely in love as usual. No, we're like I'm doing it right now. I'm like at the shading right now a little bit, trying to like bring something into this. I don't know, you know, some good genes, I guess.
If I may make a request, and this might be too out there to be able to draw on the time that we have, but what about the idea of runic axes with like song notes trailing from them?
Sorry, can you go again?
So the idea of like a kind of like that she's holding like some sort of runic axes, or maybe just one, I suppose, where there's like a trail of song notes coming off of presumably the path of where the axe just was.
Okay.
I just like the idea of someone making music with their weapons, and like it's literally they're making music with it. Just to try and fit in the Berserker part of it a bit more than it currently is, because we don't currently have really any verse stuff at all.
That does sound really, really pretty, actually. And I really have the urge to like keep working on her after stream.
Yeah, well, maybe it's a longer term thing, because I'm aware that's asking quite a big thing to suddenly start doing custom weapons at the end of the stream.
True.
So maybe
I think,
okay.
You know what? I think we that's like a really quick like a planning idea to like, you know, like after like half a year or something, make like a poll of like which champion I should like put real like, I don't know, like, you know, like a week work into it to like make it really really pretty, you know, and then we could choose.
That's true. All right. Well, maybe that can bring us back to maybe that's what we need. Exodus, that's what we need. We need the verse part of the champion to come through in the E, and then at least that's something which gives her some thematic reason to be called the Berserker.
I'm looking, man. I am looking through. I am on the Google mobile.
Use your brain if it's there somewhere.
I know it's so. I'll tell you the mood I'm in really quick, because
okay.
I can see the puzzle pieces, but I don't see the puzzle yet. That's the.
All right, tell us what you've got so far.
Nothing.
How many pieces
are
there?
Okay.
So the thing is,
pieces.
the thing is we kind of blocked ourselves a little bit with. Oh, we're not gonna give Blenda any kind of defensive, which is good because that's the challenge. We want to keep challenging ourselves. So a lot of that stuff kind of falls off. Something we could have done is maybe, or something I think we can do, is where you go, okay, she literally just jumps in the air and kind of does a small version of a Cataclysm, a small version of a Jarvanaut.
Oh right, so terrain creation kind of stuff.
Yeah. Or, but this is very OFE again. Lifesteal. Or she. I'm thinking if this is useful, if it's either useful, useless, or overpowered. You cannot lifesteal from her.
Huh. That's a cool idea.
Yeah.
I'm happy to just throw that in as a thing.
Passive for the, I think a passive for the E. It's not like, okay, lifesteal from this champion is reduced.
Oh, look, it's an active kind of thing.
Oh yeah, it's an active kind of thing. Lifesteal from this champion is reduced.
Let's just say negated. Let's go negated.
Stacks with grievous. I would say stacks with grievous wounds. So for example, if you have where it's not, oh, so you'd never buy anti-heal on her. It's like, no. If you have anti-heal and you activate the E, no life stealing for you.
Yeah, okay. So this seems like it's a... I mean, we could just have the battle cry. We could just go with the circumstantial thing.
Yeah.
So it's a self buff of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
So it's disincentivized people from attacking you. We've kind of got already with the passive to an extent. So that can't really be the primary focus of the ability. I was thinking just to go the most obvious route possible. If she's going to be, I have a feeling.
Ooh.
Hmm?
And this is maybe the anathemas chains we were talking about before. Takes reduced damage from the champion who has damaged her the most this game.
Oh, that's an interesting idea. So if we're going to put that onto an E rather than a passive, maybe that would be from the champion who's damaged her most recently. Or maybe the champion that she's damaged most recently.
Yeah, that's a good. I'm thinking. Besides Old Poppy, there's not something in League along those lines. Yeah, I like it. So it takes reduced damage from the person she has, or the champion she has damaged most recently.
Yeah, that's a very duelist thing in terms of it's functionally just
and again
reducing
works
the path to
really
one.
well again. This is a champion again will work really well against something like those Jack Trinamir, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, so that's specifically anti-duelist, and I can see some interesting counterplay being there. Let's say so. Okay, so it's a self buff for, I don't know, short period.
Yeah.
Let's say approximately 5 seconds ish. So take reduced damage from the champion who has damaged her most. Oh no, sorry, that's right. From the champion she has damaged.
Yeah.
Most recently, so that encourages her to stay on one target. Okay, yeah. I feel like there's probably still room for that to.
I think the E is the least fleshed out ability. That's the one where you can say, okay, the E needs tweaking, maybe even add it, maybe even make it a passive. What we have there, like make it a passive in the passive or another ability, and give her something to do with E. But it's not a bad thing. I like the idea. I actually really like this champion. It's a champion I would definitely want to play, and as a top laner, I would not mind playing as support. I think that's really important as well.
I could definitely see them doing some really fun stuff with her, like as like announcement videos of her like facing people down and having them do these big attacks and having her be like, "I'm an anime."
Oh, yeah, and because I forgot, because our resident artist is of course the wonderful Roger. Of course, she has piercings. Yeah, we should have guessed.
I already gave her.
It's not a bad thing.
Piercings, left, right, eyebrow, and the snake bites, because I have a thing for snake bites, and I have a thing
I
for
think the
her
snake
now.
bites look really cool. Damn. But you're right, we have basically run ourselves out of time here. I think we've gone too in depth in this champion. I absolutely think I'd love to come back and look further at Blender down the line, because I think art-wise, I think design-wise, I think there's room to to find even more fun stuff here. But yeah, we can't keep going all evening, otherwise we will literally be here.
Look at her.
She's so large.
Huh?
Damn, boy, she thick.
She can squish me between her thighs, and I would say thank you.
Oh well, the host is back again. All right, well that seems like a good time to get up here before we get banned from Twitch. So guys, before we head off today, is there anything that either of you would like to shout out? I guess starting with you, Exodus.
I am still looking for jobs. I am very good at doing stuff in esports and doing events and stuff. Please hire me. No, seriously, I'm desperately looking for a job at the moment.
I'm assuming that you were looking for a job as a shoutcaster, just to clarify that a little bit.
Well,
or are you looking for
not necessarily, preferably, but not necessarily. I have been thinking of spreading out, because I know there are a lot of other talents. I'm telling myself on stream here, but yes, I have some other talents, and if there are people interested, I don't want to brag, but I did lead and I did organize a charity event this year that had over 100 people involved. So, I mean, if I did it,
we were part of it.
Exactly. So I did it for charity, so I have the bragging rights then as well.
Okay, so shoutcaster, host, event organizer. Anything else?
Project management and overall great guy, I would say.
All right, there we go. Exodus. It summed up. Roger. I know that you did have your photo shoot recently. Was there anything which you'd like to promote in association with that, or indeed anything else?
I don't know. Promote myself. I look hot. No. with a photo shoot as proof, you know. No. I'm certainly not done here with her. Like I'm trying to like give her what I think she deserves.
Well, Roger,
no,
Roger,
but I'm in love with her. That's one.
I just see Roger walking into a job interview, asking, "Okay, madam. So, why you think you'll be suited for this position?" Well, I'm happy. Yeah, checks out. Let's go.
Well,
all right.
I mean...
Well, if you'd like to test the validity of the claims being asserted here on stream, you can check out Roger Rogers' Instagram. I believe that's where your cosplay photos are going to end up being posted.
Yes.
So absolutely, some really, really fantastic stuff in there. We've had a sneak peek off stream, and honestly, it's definitely going to be worth the wait. So the Twitters are all in the chat. The Instagram will be on the same tag as well. From my side of things, I'm going to be running a TFT competition this coming weekend, which you can find at, I believe it's tiny.cc/CCCTFT. That's my Counters Casual competition, which is going to be a whole lot of fun, and you can win prizes even if you suck at TFT, just like I do. Hurrah! For now, though, I think that's going to be it for us. Do we have anywhere we can send our gentle viewers? We will, of course, be back next week at the same time. Unfortunately, we started a little late today due to technical issues, but we'll get that all sorted out for next time. So we'll be back at 1800 CET next Monday coming. And of course, with all of this rushing around, I forgot to thank our wonderful sponsor. So we're in partnership with League Works for the next few weeks as well. Do go and check them out. Just going to quickly pull up their Twitter in the chat as well. They've been supporting the stream. But there's loads of good stuff happening over on the League Works server, particularly to do with the UK scene. So I'll see if I can grab their... Gosh, where's a unused stream? So I believe it's League Works LOL. So I'll post in the chat right now. So hey, if you haven't already, please do go check them out, especially because it lets them know that it was worth them supporting the stream. But yeah, they do loads of good stuff for content creation, trying to push the UK scene in particular, and it's a place where people can make League of Legends content, perhaps a little bit like this. So, guys, do you have anyone, or does anyone in the chat have anyone that they want us to raid?
Come on, guys, it's free viewership. It's free viewership.
Our cameras vanished from the stream.
Oh,
we've been taken by Blenda. She's taken us to Valhalla.
So this is the bod.
Can I say thank you now to her?
All right, anyone? Any calls for people to raid across to? Otherwise, I guess I'll just go for whatever comes up first.
You can raid Otto. It should. Hold on.
Otto?
It's me. I think you met him once, Pete. I'm not sure. Okay. This is the Twitch. He's a friend of mine. I'll link to you on Discord. There you go. This is the Otto.
All right. Let's see. So, it's me, Otto. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's go and visit them if they're live right now. I've never seen them before, so I don't know what the. It is intended for mature audiences. So if you do not want to hear any more swears, then perhaps exit. I think we had our one today, so we're doing okay. But again,
I mean, that's within reason, right?
Yeah, we're like one. We're like one. So yeah, so next week, same place, same day. So if you go back in time, 2 hours from now, that'll be our starting time next week. Let us know what you think of Blender the Berserker. Just do a quick last thing here of showing all of the abilities on stream. We won't do the voices and things because we're really completely out of time.
We don't have time. We just don't have time.
But when we come back to Blender, which I hope that we will, we'll do all that kind of stuff. So let's go and check out Otto, and we'll see you guys next week. I think it's working. Ooh, let's see.
It worked.
All right, we have raided. For everyone who's on YouTube and Facebook, if anyone watching there, then you'll still be hearing us. But thank you everyone else on those platforms for watching. We'll see you next